And welcome into the Martinsville Speedway, where we once again have exclusive coverage of the VSCRA National Premier Series. And what you can see on your screen right now, Taylor, is something that is quite unique. We're qualifying in a group tonight. So what you're looking out at, this isn't practice. You see the timer on your screen, about just under a minute 50 seconds left in qualifying. Everybody's having to qualify together tonight. I don't think it was intended, but at least it makes this entertaining for us up here in the broadcast booth.
It certainly does. We're going to have a good time watching these drivers try to lay down a fast qualifying time before we go green flag racing here tonight at the Martinsville Speedway. Currently, Preston Pardis has the fastest time with a 20.470 as Jake Fisher now goes to the top of the leaderboard.
And Fisher going to go to the top. And, amongst all the races that you could think about being chaotic, I think Martinsville is at the top of the list, especially here in these B cars. You see it a couple of times on your screen throughout this qualifying session. Those left front tires, they lock up pretty easy in these Xfinity cars, and these drivers trying to wind it down and not have to mess with that, maybe put a little bit more rear brake in it before they get going here. But the talk of the town, so to speak, Taylor, has been none other than the race winner of the previous three runnings of this series. That's been Brian Mercurio for the last three races. Right now, qualified 8th, so further back than he started in a long while. But this field trying to figure out and see if there can if there's any weaknesses, if there's a way they can defeat him tonight.
Well, this could be the night. I mean, with how much craziness this track is. Plus, this is the track that normally the Xfinity cars do not run on a regular basis. I mean, this is the first time in probably a good 10, 15 years since we've seen the NASCAR Xfinity cars at Martinsville Speedway. So it provides a whole different, another level for these drivers to try and negotiate this track.
Does, as we have just a couple of seconds left in qualifying. We'll actually wrap things up here with, it looks like, Jake Fisher, that 20.424 going to be enough to hold on for the pole. Preston Pardis, he was an early exit last week. He's going to be able to hold on for second. And Justin Blinn looks like he'll take it home in third. But a large field tonight here, Taylor, set to go for 200 laps around one of the most unique tracks in NASCAR. Obviously been a part of the running of stock car racing for a very, very long time. Well known in the iRacing service for not only for being difficult to get around, but difficult to maneuver, having to work through traffic. All those things come into play whenever you arrive at Martinsville. But we'll go ahead and give you the full field rundown for your 200-lap event tonight. It'll be Jake Fisher, as mentioned. He'll be on the pole alongside Preston Pardis, who will start to the outside of row number 1. Justin Bland will start to the inside of row number 2 with Kyle Riley to his outside in 4th. 5th starting spot goes to Sean Casto. Making a return to the series is Brad Perez. He'll roll off from 6th starting spot. 7th goes to Ryan Vargas. 8th to the three-time reigning winner in this series, Brian Mercurio. 9th will be Will Rogers, and 10th goes to Zachary Sullivan.
Nick Olson will be starting in the 11th position, followed by Chris Wetz in 12th. Eric Keff will be starting in the 13th position, followed by Ethan Stuckwish in 14th. Arnold Columbia will be starting in the 15th position, followed by Chad Mikas in 16th. Mitchell Riggs will be starting in 17th with Timothy Pacioli in 18th. 19th goes to Seelan Rowland, and rounding out your top 20, Nick Silver.
A row of Austins will make up row number 11. Austin Moore to the inside. Austin Drake to the outside of that row in 21st and 22nd. Jonathan Taylor will roll off 23rd. 24th starting spot goes to Jonathan Palmieri. So a couple of names making up rows here. 11 is Austin. Row 12 are the Jonathans. Row 13 will have Tristan Hagenstein and Richard Sprague. 27th goes to Jonathan Bell. 28th to Nate Stewart. 29th starting spot goes to William Barbagaletta. And 30th is Edwin Mendez.
31st is going to be Peter Acumano, followed by Aaron Hale in 32nd. 33rd goes to Samuel Hoff, followed by Michael Frisch in 34. Andrew Schwartz will be starting in the 35th position, followed by Elliot Henderson in 36. Gabe Herschel will be starting in 37th, followed by Joey Stone in 38th. Rounding out your 39-car field, Hayden Lowell.
And it's worth mentioning that because of the group qualifying, if you had an incident point through the running of those laps were disallowed, and a couple of drivers looked like, obviously Frisch and Schwartz, they started at the back of the field last week, but a couple of drivers, I think, Taylor, were just not able to get a clean lap through and in through that entire sequence, so it was really, really difficult to try and find a way to complete that. But nevertheless, we'll take 2 to go this time. Come down the back straightaway, 1 to go. But early thoughts, Taylor. We talked about pre-race, how many cars we thought could potentially finish this race, how many we thought would not exactly look as clean as what they look on your screen right now, but in the end, just how many cars do you think we'll see kind of wadded up and spit out tonight?
Hopefully we do not, but there is the possibility of us seeing that some cars coming home. Probably there's a possibility of every single car on this track here tonight with some form of damage on their race cars when we take the checkered flag in about 200 laps. But we have seen surprises in this series, so we could see some surprise winners work their way up through the field to try and dethrone the domination of Brian Mercurio. Or, once again, we could see Mercurio work his way up to the field, take charge of the lead, and run away with it. So, a lot of different factors here as the pace car makes the hard left turn down pit road.
Pace car will pull onto the safety of pit road. Field is under the control of both Jake Fisher and Preston Pardus. 200 laps under some cloudy skies here at Martinsville, and we are ready to get going as there's already some big damage behind the race leaders. You see the 55, I think it is already damaged. Heavy nose damage to Will Rogers, and I think you can even see a little bit of rear damage on Ryan Vargas's machine. There you see it right there. So already some early contact here at Martinsville. Escaping with the lead is Fisher. Pardus is also doing well, but Kyle Riley right now on the outside. He's trying to fend off Justin Bland, who makes his way to the inside.
Oh, we already got our first caution of the race here as we look further back through the field. Oh, it looks like several cars involved. The 33 and the 40 got together. As we take a look at the replay. Ooh, it started actually in front of him between, looks like the 24, the 13, and the 10. Oh, so a big pileup off of turn 4.
Yeah, it was. There was about 3 cars that all came together. They were going 3 wide. This was a battle for about the 22nd position. And this really started all the way to the entrance of turn 3. Some contact between Austin Moore and Tristan Hagenstein is really kind of where all this started. Hagenstein was sliding through the grass on the back straightaway, and they could just never collect it back up. And eventually you saw Nate Stewart, Austin Drake. Of course, the 27 hits the inside wall. Heavy contact for him. Barbagalata. You also see the 40 there. The nose is already off his car. And Taylor, it did not take long. Martinsville doesn't often disappoint, but it didn't take very long for us to have a lot of cars already that have some pretty significant damage on it. We'll take another look here. 3 wide as they work through 1 and 2. Yeah,
that was pretty intense as they worked their way in the middle of turns 3 and 4. We saw the 27 get loose, which then caused the major pileup that happened during that incident. That was the 27, like we mentioned, or actually, I think a different car as well coming up through the field who had issues. So we're going to have to see how these cars work their way through as they try to get back onto the racetrack before they go a lap down. But I think for some, they're going to end up going 1, maybe 2 laps down to try to fix the damage they have to their race cars.
Well, you have to think a set of tires that for many of these drivers is pretty much already out the window in terms of being able to use them. Of course, tire limits always come into play here. We see 3 sets on pit road is what they have. So obviously with the set they had to start the race on, that would be 4. So they have 3 fresh sets sitting on pit road. And although the percentage wear necessarily isn't the largest when you talk about Martinsville and comparing to other tracks on the iRacing service, every little percentage point counts. And although we have some cooler tracks right now, you can see it's a lot of cloud cover out here, basically entirely cloudy here at Martinsville. Not an inch of sunlight or perhaps the whole hope of it is going to emerge tonight. So a lot of grip out here for these drivers to try and wheel it around these tight corners.
Certainly is. And we saw on that first start of the race, we saw a couple of cars stuck to the outside having difficulty trying to work that outside groove in order to try and keep up with the inside groove. That's going to happen quite a bit here tonight, especially early on in the going. Now later on, late in the run, where we see some cars trying to utilize the outside groove, that could change a little bit where we see some side-by-side action. But right now, inside lane will be the one to prevail.
Imagine that inside lane is going to be where you want to put your race car here at the track they call the Paperclip. Jake Fisher, Preston Pardus, your top 2 once again. They'll get us rolling back under the green flag as we complete now It moved to lap 7 of 200, so still a long way to go in this thing. You see that Pardis and Fisher both able to get to the bottom of the racetrack. Justin Bland able to take advantage of that third starting position as he starts to work his way just past Kyle Riley, who tries to get it working on the high side. And of course, you have Brad Perez directly behind. He's going to try and kind of just dive it in here. Obviously, Riley is stuck on the top side. You want to keep this train going on the bottom if you're Perez, and he's able to do it and keep the 62 clear into his right side.
As we just saw, another car was able to slot in the line to the bottom inside lane. That's the 5 of Sean Casto. He slots in front of the 6 of Ryan Vargas. As behind them, you see the battle for 9th position between Zachary Sullivan and the 69 of Will Rogers, who try to go side by side. A little bit of a checkup in the middle of turn 1 and 2 with our top 7, but are able to keep it clean and green for the time being as they work down the back straightaway.
Well, and that checkup was largely because Kyle Riley shoved his way to the bottom after he got passed by Brad Perez. So that's what kind of started that whole stack up there, is that rush to get to the bottom side, and Riley was able to do that. Now you look and see a side-by-side battle. Will Rogers has some pretty heavy damage on the nose of his Ford Mustang. It started all the way on lap 1. Before they even took the green flag, he made contact with the TikTok machine. You could see it right there. Obviously not something that you have to worry about too much at Martinsville. Not exactly hot outside, only 79 degrees outside, so not having to worry about overheating is that 55 car. But obviously that is a sign of things to come. I think it's just part of being at Martinsville that cars are going to look like that, but they're not going to be all too worse off for it, as Roger's still able to keep up. Now the top 10 running single file.
They certainly are single file for the top 10 as Sean Castro tries to take a peek to the inside of Kyle Riley for 6th position. Can't quite get it done this time around, but will continue to press forward as he pokes his nose once again to the inside of Kyle Riley. To no avail, will not be able to gain that spot. A little further back as we look through the field, everyone's starting to just stay single file for the most part. No side-by-side action unless you find the 27 of Tristan Hagenstein and the 24 of Austin Moore going side-by-side for 20th position. Unfortunately, with Tristan Hagenstein stuck on the outside, it's going to be difficult for him to try and hold on to that position as he will start to fall back through the field.
Well, and the one thing you're seeing a lot of, and we saw it in qualifying, but it's also showing up in the race, is locking up that left front tire. We see a lot of tire smoke seemingly every time we get into a corner. You see 1 or 2 drivers that will lock up the brakes, and that's just something these drivers have to get used to. As you see Michael Frisch, she was a marcher last week. You remember the pit road speeding penalty that kind of derailed his efforts once he got to the front of the field. As he slowly starts to make his way back forward, he, along with Andrew Schwartz, not taking a time in qualifying, but so far Frisch is on the move, 34th, and now is riding in the 23rd position.
A great run indeed so far as the leaders work their way around some lap traffic. That is the 20 of Peter Acamano as they work through their turn 1. He stays to the outside, just decided to let the field go by, not get involved with any battles, and is still doing a great job of avoiding any issues.
Riding along the top side, that's where you're going to see a lot of lap traffic go here. And when you talk about marching through the field, you talk about trying to kind of win the hard charge reward. It is very difficult at a track like this where track position and being in traffic hurts you so significantly. And obviously the 20 Aflac Chevrolet is not having a lot of fun right now. You saw a lockup there and obviously some significant damage to his machine. It is already going to be a long afternoon for both Acumano and, of course, Nate Stewart, the 2 drivers who are right now scored 1 lap down are those 2 drivers. But lap traffic's not going to have to wait too long. We still see plenty of drivers who are already about 12, 13, 14, 15 seconds behind our race leaders. But right now, Jake Fisher doing a nice job setting a pretty steady pace out at the front of the field.
He certainly is, and as watching the timing and scoring right now, as soon as Jake Fisher is coming off corner exit of turn 2, the back half of the lap field is coming on into turn number 3. So he is not too far behind at all from the lap traffic set before him. So he is going to be catching them here in the next few laps.
It will be just a couple of laps before he's able to catch. Right now, you see Brian Mercurio started in 8th rather, has already made his way both by Kyle Riley and Brad Perez. So once again, the winner for the last couple of weeks, showing that despite perhaps not a qualifying effort he would have wanted, to try and defend and basically sweep the entire month of October here in VSCRA, doing a nice job of working his way through the field. And we know with Mercurio, the name of the game has really just been tire conservation. We know that Mercurio, in pretty much every single race, whether it's been the road courses or the ovals that he's conquered the last couple of weeks, it's been the long run speed that the 41 has really excelled on. And I think as we start to work about 20 laps into this run or on this set of tires, that's where you're really going to see him shine. You see another side-by-side battle there. That is Nick Olson trying to go by Rogers.
Great battling, but yes, once again, bringing up Mercurio, he has been always very good with conserving those tires. Now, will any other drivers learn from Brian Mercurio and do the same thing? Only time will tell, but right now, Mercurio still holds on to the 4th position, trying to run down the 65 of Justin Bland and keeping an eye on that battle for 9th position. Will Rogers was able to get around Nick Olson for that position as they worked through the middle of turns 3 and 4.
And Rogers able to hold on there. Is now Rogers scraped the outside wall, and so he's got a little bit of damage on the right side door to kind of add on to what he has already. Some front end damage. You even see some very slight rear end damage. But again, here at Martinsville, it is not a lot to worry about as he is trying to set his sights on Ryan Vargas. Which, by the way, have to give a shout out to Vargas. Had a career best at Texas this past week in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. I was able to follow along with a lot of the social media stuff that he was posting, and it was very cool to see what that run meant to him. He was able to share it with his family, and obviously did a spectacular job bringing his real-life TikTok Chevrolet into a very, very solid finish into the top 10 at Texas, and now trying to do the same thing virtually with this car and try to move it forward through Martinsville here, where he'll also be competing this weekend.
Yes, a lot of great things. Looking forward to seeing what Ryan Vargas can do for the remainder of the 2020 season, as well as what he could possibly overcome and do in 2021, as he's doing a great job trying to get around the number 5 of Sean Casto for 7th position right now, with Will Rogers right on his back bumper as they come off turn 2 down the back straightaway.
You see them, that battle right there. They run nose to tail. You can even see on the hood of Vargas's machine just a little bit of damage again. Well, just I almost don't want to call it damage because, again, it's not slowing this car down very much. Not so much here at Martinsville. We were asked for an update on the 22 car. Right now, Joey Stone running back in the 36th position, actually in a pretty heated battle. They're going to go side by side between him and Richard Sprague Jr. And, of course, this is a pretty hefty battle that's been going on for a couple of laps as the Caterpillar Chevrolet looking to make their way by. But again, this is a battle that's taking place about 18 seconds behind the race leader. So these two not exactly doing themselves any favors because Jake Fisher is not close behind, but it looks like Joey Stone able to get the best of that battle. He'll move forward into 35th.
Yeah, he can't be fencing around that long because here comes Jake Fisher right now. He is already caught up to the back bumper of William Barbagaletta, who's just right in front of him as they enter turn number 3 and 4 right now. So it won't be long before Jake Fisher starts putting these drivers a lap down very quickly.
Well, as you can move on, you can see a couple of battles starting to form right here. This is the battle for second that is starting to come into contention here. Brian Mercurio all over the back bumper of Preston Pardis, as Mercurio, who at one point was about 2.5 to 3 seconds behind the race leader, is now just 9/10 of a second. So slowly working down the race leader, Jake Fisher. You have lap traffic, obviously, that's going to come into play. But Mercurio, you see him behind Pardis, just looking for a weakness, looking for a way to get around. It's one thing to catch the 90, but here at Martinsville, without using that bumper, you're going to have to do a little bit of work to try and make a pass on the bottom here. Pardis going to protect it pretty smartly here, but now the race leaders in front of them. A lot of lap traffic here, a lot of left front tires being locked up directly in front of this battle.
It's going to make it interesting between this battle for second as well as for Jake Fisher. See how well he will negotiate the traffic as they enter turns 3 and 4. And watching Preston Pardis, Preston is a classic or championship driver in the Mazdas at NSCCA competition, a road course ringer when it comes to in the Xfinity Series. Now trying his hand once again here in the short tracks of Martinsville and doing a great job of holding off Brian Mercurio, your defending 3-time winner so far this season, as they work down the back straightaway, working their way around some more lap traffic. Jake Fisher currently stuck behind the 00 right now of Richard Sprague Jr. So Going to make it interesting to see if Preston Pardus, along with Brian Mercurio, can work their way and catch back up to that number 84.
I tell you what, Taylor, I look more in front of this battle where around Jake Fisher is, and I can't imagine that something may not happen because the amount of times I'm seeing smoke billowing off of a left front tire because somebody's locked them up. I imagine very, very soon that something catastrophic may happen around our race leaders. Fisher able to work by lap traffic. Oh, they're 3 wide in front of them. Oh, man, Joey Stone nearly gets out of shape as he's going to go to the bottom side of the racetrack. Now he's going to dive it in. Oh, is he going to run the 00 up the racetrack? He doesn't. Fisher's just thinking, my goodness, thank goodness I made it through that. Oh, boy, was that a moment. 3 wide lap traffic, not exactly what you want to see if you're Jake Fisher. And now, of course, Pardus and Mercurio going to try to go by these drivers as well.
This is a clench your teeth kind of moment and just pray that you get through these lap cars to kind of get in some little bit of a break, but you don't get that at Martinsville. You do not get a break whatsoever. You are constantly going to be passing cars lap in, a lap out as you continue to work your way through the field, putting driver the lap down. And with these lap cars around our top 3, this brings in the 65 of Justin Bland into the picture as well, along with Kyle Riley in that 62. So keep this going. We could have a 5-car battle for the race lead.
Well, and actually Fisher's going to be able to kind of get away. He actually got a little bit of a shot from Aaron Hale, and he was not exactly happy coming over the radio saying, hey, bud, you're a lap car. Why are you racing me when I just lapped you? So Fisher is able to scurry on away after he gets a little bit of a shot from Aaron Hale that last time by. He's able to escape, but now Pardus and Mercurio able to do the same. But, I mean, again, for this lap traffic, it's not going to stop. You're going to see several drivers. Now Brad Perez is going to shove it the middle 3 wide as Stone gets out of the way. Stone's going to overdrive, and Stone is going to go around here in 1 and 2, and the caution is going to come out as Stone was trying to surrender some positions on the bottom, but he just overshot the entry just enough where he really had nothing he could do. You could see the nose of his Caterpillar Chevrolet stuck in the inside wall and nowhere to really back up off of, and I just think that was the way those lap cars were reacting with the lead lap cars, Taylor. I think it was only a matter of time before the yellow flag was displayed for the second time this evening.
Surprisingly, for the second time, we've had a caution here, especially around lap number 40. We saw what happened between Joey Stone. Sean Casto in the 5 makes contact to his door, and then another hard hit from the 27. That, of course, is going to be William Barbagalletta, who made contact with him, spinning Joey Stone into the inside pit wall. So unfortunate for that number 22, all the way back in 35th position, who's going to go probably more than another lap down.
He's definitely going to lose another lap as we're looking right now on pit road. We mentioned 3 sets of tires. You would think of splitting that evenly would be about 50 laps per run. And so that's what you're going to see right here as we come up just short of what would be the quarter-way mark here at Martinsville Speedway. You're going to see drivers making their way onto pit road. And for the most part, it's going to be the call of 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles on the track. As you see, once again, Jake Fisher led them in. He leads them off of pit road. Brian Mercurio looks like he'll come out in second. Third will be Justin Bland. Preston Pardus appears he may have lost 1 or 2 positions on pit road as he will exit in the 4th position. And as far as I am looking at timing and scoring, I don't think we have a situation where anybody actually we do. Hayden Lull and Chris Wett so far have yet to come down pit road, and I'm sure Nate Stewart, who would be a beneficiary if they took the wave around, if they were to come down pit road. We'll see if they stay out, and it looks like here the 71 Ford going to stay out on the racetrack, so Stewart not going to be able to take the wave around. So 2 stay out, and the rest of the field pits. This could get really interesting very fast, Taylor.
It certainly can, so we'll have to keep track and see what will happen here as we get ready to go. Probably about 2 laps to green before we get things underway once again. But several cars decided to stay out, see if they can get back onto the lead lap here. Of course, they will probably be going a lap down very quickly once we take the green flag.
Working caution flag number 2 from the Martinsville Speedway, and you won't miss a minute of it as we pace around and go side by side here on STN. And we're going back under green flag as Chris Wetz. And of course, we mentioned Hayden Lull on old tires. We'll see how this works out. Wetz right now in control of the race lead, but it's not going to be for very long. Jake Fisher finds a way around the 71 Ford, and Fisher will go to the top spot. He's now going to kind of check up that outside line. That's going to hurt Preston Pardis, who was looking to try to make up some ground on the high side. He's going to have to find a way around Chris Wetz, who once again, just slowing him up, and there's nowhere for Pardis to go. He's blocked in behind, trying to find a way to the bottom around the lap traffic.
He's currently got Ryan Vargas to his inside as they'll go side by side into turn 3 and 4. Sean Casto behind Vargas as we see the 90 of Preston Pardis move that car out of the way as he starts to fall back. Chris Wetz all the way back to 14th. Meanwhile, we do see Pardis get to slot back into the inside line as he gets a little bit of a nudge from the 5 of Sean Casto.
He gets a little bit of a shove as they're working side by side behind this battle that Vargas and Pardis have taken advantage of. You see Nick Olson trying to get to the inside of Sean Casto once again. Olson going to be hard on the binders as he nearly wheel hopped to there and spin here as the 86 is around the entrance of turn 1. And that will once again put us under the caution flag for the 3rd time this evening. And Taylor, when you talk about spins at Martinsville, honestly, kind of worked out. You know, it looked like, oh man, actually no, Timmy's going to have some major damage here. This was just a self spin here. He loses it as he's on corner entry. You can see he loses the rear tires and just never collects it and runs into the inside wall, something you don't often see here at Martinsville.
Major wheel hop for that number 86 from Timmy as he is just trying to get control of his race car, but we just saw the back end just slides right around and then hard contact to the inside pit wall and then scoots right on up to the track, making contact with another driver. I couldn't catch the number of that one, but other ways he will be able to continue on. That once again was the number 9 of Nick Silver.
And those are the 2 cars that end up with some pretty significant nose damage. But man, you don't often see. There's a little bit of a flat right there in the pit road wall just before the safer barrier kind of comes back into play. And I just don't think I've seen anybody. Obviously, wheel spin is a thing here at Martinsville. It's not uncommon to see somebody lose the rear end, but I don't think I've ever seen anybody lose it that early on the straightaway. Usually, that wheel hop comes into play when you get on the brakes too late and you use too much of them. You just can't catch it. But checking up that early, it's something very unique that we saw right there. So he'll have to go down, fix some damage on his machine. Nick Silver is going to stay out on the racetrack despite some of the damage that he picked up in that accident. So a quarter of the way through here, Taylor, kind of what are your thoughts here? Obviously, we know Mercurio's marching up through the field. We've seen a long green flag run. We've seen lap traffic come into play and bring out a yellow flag. We've kind of gotten a good taste of everything here at Martinsville early on.
Certainly have. We got a wide variety of different things going on here in this first quarter of the race, but still a lot can still come into play. What will happen once we get into a longer run where the tires start falling off for these drivers? Can they manage that, or will it be a factor with lap traffic? We almost saw our leaders get involved in major lap traffic incidents, but was able to get away very quickly as soon as they were able to before the incidents happened. So a lot to still go on here with still 150 plus laps to go. I mean, anything can be possible.
Anything is possible. I hope that's true for my fantasy team right now. DJ Moore, 0 points in the second quarter, man. Come on, we need to pick it up. But nevertheless, we'll look at the racing here. Fisher right now and Mercurio, your top 2. Justin Bland, Kyle Riley running in the 3rd and 4th positions as they've both really just stuck to their track position. Both started in the top 4, and that's where they run. And pretty much the same throughout the top 10. Perez started in 5th, runs in the 6th position. Ryan Vargas was able to make up a couple of spots there. He runs in 6th. Perez in 5th. Pardis, though, he got kind of trapped behind some of those drivers that elected to take or not take tires that last go around on pit stops, and he kind of got blocked in on the top side, and there was just nowhere to go with Wetz blocking everything up and everybody else just kind of rolling through on the bottom.
Certainly was the case for him. As we saw, that top side is not the best place to be right now for these Xfinity cars. Later on, like we brought out, we could see some drivers utilizing the outside road to make passes if they have fresher tires or if they're able to beat their opponent into the corner. But right now, if it's heads up, it's going to be always the inside line.
It will be, as we'll see Jake Fisher once again. A great launch for him as he's going to be able to clear Mercurio as they head down into turns 1 and 2, trying to get to the bottom throughout this battle, and actually not able to do so is Mercurio. And what a great restart there for Justin Bland, his Coors Light Chevrolet, to the bottom of the 41 as they go side by side, nearly into the back of Jake Fisher, who makes contact, and they'll go side by side, banging doors down the front straightaway for second.
Here they go side by side into turn number 1 and 2 as they work to the middle of turn 2. We still see Bland holding strong against Mercurio, who's stuck on the outside group. Meanwhile, for third, as the caution now comes out once again.
And what a valiant effort there from Brian Mercurio, who's going to, I think, stay in the second position once the field was frozen for the caution flag. It's probably the best we've seen anybody be able to defend on that high side. But once again, another situation here, Taylor, where somebody just gets into turn 1, and all of a sudden the rear of the race car just goes completely out of control. It almost looked like a misshift there from Acumano. Is, he obviously got on the brakes, but the way that car just really snapped around, it's almost as if he tried to shift into third gear just a little bit too early.
It certainly looked that way indeed. Unfortunately for Acumano, he's running in dead last, 1 lap down. But with how many cautions we have, if we keep doing it like that, he could end up back on the lead lap here. And the next couple of laps, if we have pit cautions here for the next 3 laps in a row. But we'll have to wait and see as some of the cars towards the back half of the field come down pit road.
And it's certainly worth it. Don't think that anybody in the back of the field is really in danger here of losing any spots. And obviously they can come down pit road. They can maybe get some fresh tires if they want, but for the most part, I think if you're back here, it's probably because you have a little bit of damage to fix. So you're having to do that. But one thing, Taylor, I know I've run this car in the Xfinity Series a lot here at Martinsville, which of course, first off, a pretty unique combination. You don't see, obviously haven't seen the Xfinity Series run at Martinsville probably since it was the Busch Grand National Series a while ago. So it's been a little bit since this series has made its way to this racetrack. But one thing particular with this setup, Taylor, is just how little front brake there is in it. You see a lot of lockups from that left front tire, and because of that, obviously with fixed setups, the one adjustment that you can kind of make on these race cars is the brake bias. And obviously that's a part of things as well. And I know for this week, there's usually a general consensus on where you run it, but just with the way these Xfinity Series cars handle with this setup, obviously a little tight getting in, and with the little amount of front brake, everybody wants to put it in the rear. And, I think that's why we're seeing a lot of these accidents where the rear end just snaps around on these race cars. There's really... You have to put it so far back in these cars to try and get a little turn through the corner. And as soon as you get in and put on the brakes too hard, well, guess what? There's too much rear brake and it just snaps right around.
Certainly does. We'll have to see if drivers can be able a little bit easier on the brakes, especially on corner entry, or make some small adjustments to their brake bias in order to prevent that from happening. We've seen some drivers be able to do that quite well here tonight, such as our top 10. But further back in the field, we're seeing some drivers struggle with that, especially with a lot of front tire lockups here. So we'll have to keep track and see if they're able to maintain that and work their way up, or will they suffer and lose tire wear and possibly either spin out or end up in the wall.
And it's very sudden too. It's not exactly a thing where you get on the brakes and it just kind of works loose towards the center of the corner. As soon as you hit the brakes too hard and the rear end kicks around, like Acumano, like obviously what we saw that last time with the 89 machine, if you snap around, there is almost nothing you can do about it. It is so sudden. There's really no saving the race car. But we'll see if they're able to handle that challenge up front. So far they have, as Fisher, another great restart. And once again, we're picking right back up where we left off with that battle for second. Justin Bland to the inside of Mercurio, who's going to try to do all he can to make that middle line work. He's not going to clear Bland as they work it into 3 and 4, but Bland nearly clips the apron down there, which obviously you don't want to do. Almost contact, but Mercurio going to be able to hold on to second.
As we will see, will Bland try to get back up in line to prevent the 62 of Kyle Riley and Brad Perez to get involved, but they do not. They are able to get right back in line. Meanwhile, Sean Casto, Ryan Vargas, they're doing battle for sixth position along with Jonathan Taylor. Preston Pardis, who is inside the top six, fell back quite a ways after starting on that outside road. He's sitting in ninth position, battling with the 7 of Jonathan Taylor, as also the 39 of Arnold Columbia is in there as well.
And Pardis gets run up the racetrack again. Pardis was running about second or third, and since he got blocked by Chris Wetz, has not had the track position. What a big dive there from Nick Olson, who saw a slight checkup out of the 39. And Olson, one of those drivers, if the opportunity is there, he's going to take it. It may have netted him a spot here as the caution flag comes out. We'll have to see where the field was frozen when the caution came out, but you see the mangled machine of Hoff there. It was an accident in the middle of 3 and 4 that brings out this caution flag. And, this seems to me, Taylor, like a pretty typical Martinsville wreck, as you see even some extracurricular activities going on under caution.
Yes, you do. As we're seeing that incidents happening here throughout the track, unfortunately, tempers will flare and continue to flare all the way to the checkered flag. So let's see if these drivers can keep their tempers in check or not. But that incident that just happened was started when the 00 of Richard Sprague Jr. got involved, which looks like to be the 27 of William Barbagaletta and the 2 of Samuel Hoff, and sending them up into the wall.
Well, I don't know. When I'm looking at the replay, I mean, obviously, if you're Barbagaletta, you're running to the back of the field, you're frustrated, you're involved in a wreck in Martinsville, but I don't really see how you pin this on the 2 car. You see getting into 3 and 4, you see the 00 is going to kind of shove the 2. That gets him sideways, puts him on the curb, and shoves the 27 into the outside wall. So obviously, if you're Barbagaletta, you're just run up in the wall. There's nothing you can do there. You're frustrated. But I think the frustration could probably be better directed at the 00 here. The 2 looked like he had the corner made until he got some contact from Richard Sprague Jr. And then he was just kind of along for the ride at that point. There wasn't a whole lot he could do.
Yeah, unfortunately for that, it's just a mixed communication of who caused what with this incident, as Barbagaletta definitely was putting a lot of the front bumper to the back bumper of that number 2.
And, of course, you see some of the extracurricular activities taking place after the caution flag came out. We haven't seen any contact since, but Samuel Hoff going to go down and try to fix some of the damage on his race car. Joey Stone is as well. And Taylor, when we talk about pitting and having tires and everything involved with that, this is where when you're a leader, the last thing on your mind is thinking about pitting in these situations, because you think about all these wrecks that are happening. They're pretty much all 20th on back. You don't want to get back there in traffic and potentially get caught up in something. So I think that's why you'll see a lot of these leaders, unless we get a very long green flag run, they're going to be really hesitant to come down pit road and get some fresh tires. They're going to stay out here and keep this track position.
If this is what's going to be the trend here for the next several laps, we could not see our drivers come down pit road till after lap 100, just because of the situation going on. With them always stopping and starting with these cautions, it allows our drivers to save fuel. It allows drivers to save tires. So if this keeps going, we may not see anybody pit till after the lap 100, lap 120 mark.
Now, of course, it is worth bringing up that the fuel calculation that I'm looking at on my screen. Of course, these cars with the capability that iRacing allows them in these league races, you can kind of put a limit on the amount of fuel you can take in. 18.7 gallons is about the maximum that these NASCAR Xfinity Series cars will carry throughout a race. But it is a little bit limited here. 15.85 gallons is what I'm showing the maximum that these cars will allow in this series. And with that, it's about a 120 lap fuel window for these guys under green flag conditions. Obviously 130 laps to go. We came down about 20 laps ago. So if we were to get a green flag run, we would eventually see a cycle of green flag pit stops, but we'll worry about that when we cross that bridge. Another great restart for Fisher, another great restart for Justin Bland, who may have learned some lessons the last time he was on the
Trouble in turn 3 and 4. Cars around the 88 is gone around. That's Chad Micas as more cars are making contact. Caution finally comes out.
And it looked like there was some big issues. Oh man, there was some big sins here getting into turn one. Signed, sealed, delivered, as a couple of cars just came barreling into 1 and 2, and they had a lot of help. And we'll have to see exactly what happened here. It looked like Austin Moore, I believe the 8 machine of Jonathan Palmieri, also got a little bit loose getting into 1, but I don't know exactly what happened. But Austin Moore, it didn't look like, or actually he gets a little bit of help here from Tristan Hagenstein. So just a typical Martinsville wreck, checkups, missed braking points, chaos, guys getting shoved in. And the end result is the 88 gets turned around. You see big shot from the 27 to the back of the 24 of Austin Moore. He has nowhere to go. Chad Mikas gets spun around.
More tempers flaring between the 40 of Edwin Mendez and the 27 of William Barbagaletta. A hard shunt to the back bumper of that number 27 as they continue to pace the field.
You saw this wreck kind of afterward. You see the 07 and the 40 get together here. This is a wreck that continues on. So obviously you see all the chaos. Chad Mikas is spinning right now in front of the field, and with everything, you see some cars continuing to get spun. The 07, the 00, the 27. I'm glad there isn't an incident count here, Taylor, because I think a lot of these drivers would be awfully close to hitting it. But then even under caution, Edwin Mendez ran into the back of the 27. Not sure if it was intentional or not, but it was some pretty heavy contact for both of those drivers shortly after that wreck had concluded. But this is typical Martinsville, Taylor. We know that cautions breed cautions, but this is going to be kind of a self-cleaning at this point, as these cars in the back of the field that continue to just kind of take on more damage continue to get involved in these wrecks.
They certainly are, as we continue to see on their way through the field. I mean, we haven't even got to the halfway point yet, and I think this is probably our 5th or 6th caution here of the night. So a lot still has to come into play, and pretty soon we'll start seeing things starting to calm down a little bit once more cars start getting involved in incidents. But right now we are starting to see a lot of drivers trying to let loose with their tempers. They need to try to calm down and realize there's still 125 laps left to go.
Well, and, usually in this series, what's been its MO has been those long green flag runs that we've been really accustomed to, the first quarter to the halfway point to about the 3/4 mark of these races. But Martinsville is just a different animal. I think you can look at really any simulation that has had Martinsville in it, and typically this is kind of how it goes. It doesn't matter whether it's the big boys in NIS or, even the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. The history here at this track is just Martinsville. It's just one of those easy tracks with the flat surface, being able to kind of outbrake drivers. It's one of those easy ones. It looks like Nate Stewart going to take a very late trip around the field with the lucky dog, as we're going to go back to green for lap 77 is what we'll take when Jake Fisher takes the green flag. He does a great job, a great launch. He's able to get clear. Mercurio able to dive down and protect for second place. It's going to put Kyle Riley and the 5 machine on the outside as they'll work it off at turn 2.
As they work down the back straightaway, entering turns 3 and 4, we see Brian Mercurio get around Kyle Riley for second place as they come off of turn number 4. Still going to be side by side between him and Justin Bland as they enter turn 1, but still a lot of great battles. Single file, more contact. Ryan Vargas gets shunted out of the way by the 25 of Nick Olson.
Vargas gets shoved out of the way. It causes a big stack up here. You can see in the field running 2 by 2 for a couple of rows as Vargas, who was running in the 9th position, gonna lose a ton of that ground right here. He crosses the stripe this time back to 15th. So Vargas loses a couple of spots. Now he's gonna try to get one of them back as Arnold Columbia locks up the left front tire getting into 1 and 2, and he's gonna be stuck on the outside as Vargas is gonna try to capitalize here and get and try to work his way back forward after being moved out of the way. Vargas up into P14.
Great pass indeed for Ryan Vargas as he now sets his sights on Will Rogers for 13th position. Tries to stick his nose to the inside off turn number 2, which is what drivers need to try and do in order to make the pass work. If you're able to get a nose underneath somebody down the back straightaway, you will have the opportunity to make the pass work, as we see a big pile of cars getting together. Still able to continue going straight, but Jonathan Taylor nearly bit the dust when it came to the contact that he had to go through with that group of cars in front of him.
Well, and we saw some door contact in 3 and 4 between Vargas and Rogers. Remember, those two drivers got together before we even completed the pace laps here to get this race underway. So Vargas kind of shoved Rogers out of the way, but it's successful for him. He finds another spot back up in the 13th position. But my goodness, there is a big pile of cars here battling for about 8th, 7th position around Nick Olson's machine as they are all running fender to fender, nose to tail. Pardis trying to pinch down Olson to try to keep that 24 grit Chevrolet at bay.
He is trying everything that he can right now. It's more contact in front of him, more beating and banging as drivers are trying to work around their competitors. I tell you what, though, that 58 of Michael Frist is definitely wearing out the back bumper of Nick Olson, especially off corner exit. You'll see him just constantly one tap, two tap, a hit as they come off corner exit. So great battles, but still great short track action here. There's another hit from the 58 as he will move the 25 up the hill and try and make the pass work. He will off turn 2.
Well, and that was a case where Olson locked up the left front tire, and Frisch was not going to wait on him, as now Olson's going to get shoved into the corner. He's going to lose a couple of spots, as I believe, was that another lockup, or did he get some contact there from Pardis? And, you know, honestly, I'd have to say, Taylor, I think Olson was just trying to repay the favor from what Frisch gave him, a little bit of contact, but he missed. And because of that, he gets shoved to the outside. He's going to lose a couple of spots. And, yeah, coming on the radio, not very happy about it.
Tempers continuing to flare here tonight at Martinsville as we see more contact between Olson and Nick Silver down the front straightaway as they're doing contact. More contact from the 09 as they almost spin him around there and continue on their way. Mitchell Riggs making contact with the 9 of Nick Silver as we see now Ryan Vargas try to get in. More contact with Olson now as they go through turn 3 and 4. Ryan Vargas going to say thank you very much as they come off turn 4, 3 wide.
Oh, and now Olson contact with the 09 once again, and he's going to give him another shot as it looks like the 09 and Olson just not getting along. And oh boy, I think that's going to set something up here at 3 and 4, Taylor. You watch out for it. Oh, and Riggs going to give Olson a shot. Oh, and he's going to turn him around. Oh, I saw that one brewing for a little bit as Olson made some contact with the 09. It actually started a 3-wide move that Riggs was able to get by Olson on the bottom. And then obviously Olson tried to get back down. He hit the back of the 09. He hits him again. Mitchell Riggs isn't happy about it. And that was definitely, that was short track racing right there, Taylor. That was, I'd have to say, you know, if you're the driver of the 09, it's like, well, sorry, I got in a little hot there. I locked it up. But I think we know what the intentions were going into 3 and 4.
And I think the officials did too, as Mitchell Riggs has been disqualified from tonight's race after that incident between him and the 9 of Nick Silver.
Well, they DQ the 09, but we see it right on our screen right here. Obviously, I think that's fair, moving him out of the way, but then obviously he doesn't even turn off of him. So, but again, that Olson was not making a whole lot of friends here. He was, you know, obviously doing some aggressive Martinsville racing here. And again, we see kind of the aftermath of it. Yeah, I mean, you can get away with the bump right there, but the extra shove and the turnaround there was obviously enough for them to decide to park Mitchell Riggs for the remainder of this race. But that is just a case of tempers flaring and how hard they were racing here for about the 7th position. It all started lap 84. Michael Frisch works his way by Olson after Olson locks up. Then Olson gets in hot to try to get after Frisch. He loses a couple of spots. Then Nick Silver barely taps Nick Olson as they were running side by side. They hit on lap 86 a couple of times. Then Mitchell Riggs is able to work by Silver and Olson 3 wide. Then they get into 3 and 4. Olson gets into the back of Riggs there on lap 86. Then on lap 87, he goes into 1 and 2 and gives Riggs a shot. So Riggs thought he got shoved 2 or 3 times, but oh man. So yeah, Riggs got hit twice. He was like, you can hit me once, but you can't hit me twice without being sent around. So Riggs, I think, is content with what he did there. But whew, great Martinsville action here.
Did you catch your breath yet there, Blake?
No, I was talking for a couple of minutes there, probably. Yeah. Oh, man, that was a long sentence.
Take a breath before you start lose any more air coming out of your mouth as we continue on our way here. But I mean, it was a lot of great racing from us as the viewers and the fans who are watching tonight's race. I mean, that's exciting, but for a driver, it is super frustrating to have that constantly happening to you lap after lap after lap. So Mitchell was just done with it and decided to return the favor with Nick Olson. But now we will see to continue who will continue on with their ways here. Will they continue to be more aggressive or will they calm down? Pace car will make the hard left turn down pit road, and right now, we are almost at the halfway point here tonight, so we're just halfway there, folks. You're going to enjoy the rest of the show here tonight as they come off of turn 4 for the start.
To the halfway point, one driver to keep your eyes on. Michael Frisch restarted in the 7th position as they work to 1 and 2 here as they stack it up on the bottom. A tight move there by Sean Casto, who tried to get around the 38 of Perez, but Perez able to fend that off. Now Casto in a side-by-side battle with Preston Pardis on the high side. Frisch also coming into the picture as well.
Right now we see Preston Pardis along with what looks like to be the 62 of Brian McCurry, or Kyle Riley has 3 wide happen. Pardis, Farkas, and the 7 of Jonathan Taylor go 3 wide off turn 2. Continue on their way, no harm, no foul, but still a lot of great racing as they work to the middle of turn 3 and 4 off corner exit. We still see that battle for third between Justin Bland and Kyle Riley.
And a reminder that these drivers are running on tires that are about 40 or 50 laps old as the caution flag going to be displayed once again. And oh boy, do we hear some more calling out over the radio. It was Gabe Herschel who I think got the worst of it. And it was Peter Acumano who looked like he got in the outside wall off of 4. No, he just got loose once again. So it has not been a fun afternoon for Peter Acumano. And that Pete, I won't even call it Aflac. I guess it's just the Pete Chevrolet. But yeah, he has not had fun, and a lot of drivers here on the front straightaway kind of paid the price for it.
Somebody call the duck right now for Peter as he is trying to get his car back around and on pit road, which he has done, but it's safe to say his night is done as we see the contact that he has with the 00 along with several other drivers. I believe the 07 was caught up in that mess and one more driver as well.
We'll see it there. Yeah, you just see the 20 machine. And again, this is part of the strategy here, Taylor, is that obviously a lot of these drivers have been out on the same set of tires since lap 41. We've run a majority of those laps, or at least a good portion of them, at the very least under the caution flag. And these race leaders have not really wavered on trying to pit and take fresh tires. It looked like the driver who is furthest up through the field, 14th on back rather, is on old tires. But Chris Wetz up here in the 15th position, pitted on lap 67, while the rest of the field pitted on 61. So we mentioned the tire strategy that Wetz was implementing a little earlier, where he stayed out on those old tires. Well, right now he's got about 26 lap fresher tires than anybody in front of him. Runs in 13th. Looks like he's avoided a lot of the carnage that's kind of taken place around the 25th position that he was running in. So perhaps Wetz is set up well here to make a run through this field if we can get a long green flag round, because again, nobody up front wants to pit because of all these caution flags.
They certainly have, as we just saw Preston Pardis along with looks like to be Will Rogers also come down pit road, Arnold Columbia, Zachary Sullivan, Austin Drake, and several other cars as well to make their second stop of the night, or their third stop of the night. So we should see more drivers here in the next lap or two come down pit road momentarily. But right now, the drivers who've been out there the longest on their tires, well, that has to go to none other than Tristan Hagenstein and then also Jonathan Taylor. They've been on their tires for 58 laps and counting.
These cars off. We'd like to remind you that the Racing Experts is your place for NASCAR, eNASCAR, and other motorsports news. Visit www.racingexperts.com today, as we're going to go back under the green flag here. You see Jake Fisher, who has led a large portion of this race, who is still up front right now. Some drivers being shoved to the outside, one of which is Ryan Vargas, who's going to have to fend off some trouble But before he's able to do that, once again, the caution flag is out. It is Hayden Lull who gets tagged in this one. And it looks like this was a battle running along the bottom, some contact back there around. It looked like the Arnold Columbia machine, who was in the middle 3 wide, perhaps some contact with the 55 or the 24 of Nick Olson is what gets us going here. But unfortunately, Lull gets spun around again. This was the battle for 21st. And with that, I've kind of lost track, but we're under caution once again.
We are just past the halfway point here tonight, but we will see some more great racing action. Once we get things settled down a little bit, try to get these guys to calm down, get back in their rhythm, they will be able to put on another great show like we've seen the past few weeks here tonight at Martinsville Speedway. But to be quite honest, that's the way things usually are when you come to Martinsville or Bristol. A lot of tempers flaring, a lot of beating and banging, a lot of caution. So just be prepared as we continue on the way here through the night.
That'll definitely continue to happen throughout this night as we have crossed the halfway point of the race. We'll go ahead and give you a full field rundown as they run under the caution flag. Jake Fisher is still out front. Brian Mercurio looking to complete his march to the front and win for the 4th straight week is in 2nd. Justin Bland runs in the 3rd position. Brad Perez is in 4th. Kyle Riley runs in 5th. Sean Casto is in 6th. Michael Frisch started 34th. He's up to 7th. Ryan Vargas runs in the 8th spot. Jonathan Taylor, another marcher through the field, started 23rd. He runs in 9th, and Austin Moore rounds out the top 10.
Currently in the 11th position, you'll find Nick Silver, followed by Tristan Hagenstein in 12th. Seelan Rowland will be in 13th, followed by Elliot Henderson in 14th. 15th is Nate Stewart, followed by Chad Mikas in 16th. Aaron Hale is 17th, followed by Jonathan Bell in 18th. 19th, Nick Olson. Jack Sprague Jr. rounds out your top 20.
And Olsen going to come down pit road, but it'll cycle Will Rogers around to the 21st position. 22nd will go to Zachary Sullivan. 23rd will go to Arnold Columbia. 24th to Jonathan Palmieri. 25th running is going to be Austin Drake. 26th is Eric Kempf. 27th, Preston Pardis, who elected to come down pit road. He is on fresh tires, but he lost a good amount of track position for it. He runs in 26th, 27th to William Barbagaletta, 28th to Joey Stone, 29th Gabe Herschel, and 30th is Samuel Hoff.
31st is Edwin Mendez, followed by Nick Olson in 32nd. Now Andrew Schwartz is in 33rd. Hayden Lowell's 34th, followed by Chris Wetz, who is out of the race in 35th. Peter Acumano is 36th, 9 laps down, followed by Mitchell Reggs, Timmy Pacioli, and Ethan Stuckwish in 37th, 38th, and 39th.
And that will round out the midway race break as it looks like we are pulling off the pace cars. There are some calls right now, and yes, they've actually extended the yellow flag as they were trying to get in position back here. Of course, Martinsville, one of those tricky racetracks where catching lap cars, taking the wave around, all those things kind of get jumbled up near the end. Occasionally, you'll see it in real life as well, that the lights will come back on as the pace car, oh, man, morphing through the pit road wall. There was a safer barrier there, but he drove right through it. So the pace car, as you can even see, I just don't think iRacing knows what to do. But nevertheless, looks like the pace car is going to be solid for now as it'll pull onto pit road once again. Lights are out, and once again, Jake Fisher will restart atop row number 1. Mercurio still trying to hold on for second. It is Bland, Perez, and Riley who round out your top 5. As we take the green flag, it'll be 94 laps to go here at Martinsville. And Jake Fisher, another great launch for the green flag. And oh boy, Ryan Vargas is a couple of others make some big moves back there. They are 3 wide as Vargas made an aggressive move to the bottom. They've now since stacked up there in the back of the field right now, side by side for 3rd, side by side for 4th as well. You see the 5 of Perez and Casto are side by side, and now Vargas and Frisch also doing battle.
Drivers jockeying for position, trying to find their ways to get settled in, to work their way through the field. More contact happens between Chad Mikas along with Nate Stewart and Seelan Rowland as they'll go side by side into turn 3 and 4. And right in front of them, you see more battle. There's a big contact. What was that?
Oh man, somebody got turned in their right rear in front of the field, and that was a big hit by the 10 car right on head onto the outside wall was Jonathan Bell.
Oh,
Man, and there was nowhere to go right there. I don't even know what
okay.
yeah,
I found. So if we
yeah.
go to the 69 of Will Rogers, he makes contact with the 33, which turns to 10, which then turns Nate Stewart, and then just carnage happens right there. So major implications here tonight for several drivers who are running inside the top 10.
I gotta say, this is one of the strangest wrecks I think I've ever seen, Taylor. I don't think I've ever seen somebody. So you see, this is the original contact on the outside lane, and somehow just a domino effect where the 10 gets hit in the right rear turn. He obviously collects Nate Stewart as well, but I think that's the first time that I've ever seen a driver about 2 rows back get into somebody on the outside. You'll see it once again. The 55 runs into the 33, and somehow that creates a 3 or 4 car pileup. Just one of the ways I've never seen a spin happen like that, where somebody on the outside got run into and takes out somebody who was running on the inside row. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Well, Blake, in earlier shows that we've had this week, we've seen drivers go sky high through the air, and now we've seen this. So drivers on iRacing never cease to impress us with how they can find ways to have accidents or wrecks in the field. So I'm pretty sure that will be a continuing phase here tonight.
Perhaps it will be, but no. Wow, that was something special. Yeah, that is one thing about iRacing. You get a lot more virtual laps put on compared to the real world. Is you can race in Martinsville any time of the year. You're not just restricted. As you see Jonathan Bell, he's going to have to make some heavy repairs to his machine. As you know, with all the contact that generally happens in Martinsville and what you can withstand, that contact for Bell hard onto the outside wall is not going to be good for his Panda Express Chevrolet. It's hard to tell it's a Chevrolet right now. There's a lot of cars out here. You can't really see the front or the back of the car. So if you don't know going into the hand, if you don't have the spotter's guide with you, it could be hard to tell what manufacturer they're running with, other than maybe just being an entry into the modified class.
That certainly is, and I'm pretty sure several other cars will have their cars looking more like the modifieds that would run here back in the day. So currently interesting to see who will be able to survive. Currently right now, the drivers who are pretty much happy and feel the safest have to be the top 5 right about now.
Yeah, I'd have to say the best spot to be at Martinsville, and I think it's kind of proven itself again that being out front, there is nothing, there's no place like being out front. There's no place like clean air, and obviously getting those restarts where you can kind of scurry away from everybody. But there was a change for second there, as we'll have Justin Bland will start to the outside of road number 1, so he worked his way by Brian Mercurio under that last green flag. Fisher, Bland, Mercurio, Casto, and still Perez, your top 5, Frisch in 6th, and then Ryan Vargas will start to the inside of row number 4 in his TikTok Chevrolet. You see the count on your screen. We have reached 10 caution flags. I don't think we're done, but we'll see how quickly we get the next one. Green flag out once again is Jake Fisher and Justin Bland. A nice restart for the driver of the 65, who's going to be able to clear, I believe, Mercurio to the bottom here and go protect second side by side for third between Mercurio and Casto, and of course behind them Perez, Frisch, Vargas, all able to get to the bottom.
More contact towards the back half of the field between Will Rogers, Chad Mikas, and Jonathan Palmieri, who were able to make some contact after a big check up in front of them, but able to continue on their way. Meanwhile, we have a couple of battles still raging on as Sean Casto is just trying to find a way to get contact. Vargas around.
Oh, and somehow he saved it, and actually that save is going to take out, it's going to take out about 15 cars, as, again, Vargas was kind of just getting into turn 3 normally. He may have gotten some help because Nick Silver was looking low on the 7, and, yeah, it just looks like the 7 went for a lane, barely gets in the back of Vargas. And, what an incredible job from Vargas here, because you think he gets tagged in the left rear. He is going around. He does a magnificent job of driving out of that wreck. But as he gets going straight, there are a couple drivers behind him that don't. And some contact between, I believe it was Hagenstein and Austin Moore. That is what kind of takes out everybody who was behind them. You see the contact there on your screen.
Certainly is so. And I'm kind of wondering, because I'm looking at our lap counter right now. We have 117 of 200 complete. But we also have a timer of 30 minutes left to go on the clock. So I'm hoping we'll be able to get the entire race underway here, all 200 laps completed. But a lot can still happen between now and then.
Well, the one thing I see is 2 hours and 5 minutes total. What I'm showing on my screen is about an hour into everything. So it is about what I'm seeing. So I don't imagine that we're in too much of a position right now where we're going to have to worry about that clock running to completion here. But I mean, obviously,
you never know.
Yeah, you never know. We could continue wrecking. Actually, I'm looking on my screen. 1 hour, 3 minutes, 10 seconds is what just scrolled across on mine. And we get the official count there because obviously that clock is incorrect. We have 1 hour, 5 minutes left for 80 laps. So I'd imagine at Martinsville, you'd feel safe getting in 80 laps at Martinsville in 65 minutes. But we've seen some crazier things happen. We did have that long green flag run that was about 20 or 30 laps at the beginning of this race,
yes,
and we haven't seen it replicated since. So if we don't get there, perhaps we could be in a timed event here.
Well, let's keep track indeed, as right now the field is under caution once again here, being led by the pace car. Jake Fisher, currently your race leader, over Brian Mercurio. Could we see Mercurio find a way to try to get to the inside as quickly as possible, challenge Jake Fisher for the race lead? He's been trying to do that all night, but has to deal with some pressure from third place of Sean Casto, as well as the 38 of Brad Perez and Michael Frisch, who's been on a strong run here tonight.
He has definitely been running strong here, and when this series was made, obviously this is the 11th running of the National Premier Series this season. And again, it's been a story of just one driver who has really dominated a large portion of the season. Obviously, Brian Mercurio with 5 wins has led the series. You see, obviously, Timothy Piccioli has won a race. Kyle O'Reilly was also able to visit victory lane. Jonathan Palmieri also as well was able to go to victory lane. And those are the race winners, along with Mitchell Riggs, who, if you were a Mitchell Riggs fan, he was disqualified for some intentional contact a little earlier on in the race with Nick Olson. So he right now is showing the black flag. But we do have the potential here. Jake Fisher obviously could be a new winner in this series. And of course, you have a couple of hungry hounds behind him. Sean Casto, Brad Perez, Michael Frisch capable as well. As we'll get going back under the green flag. It'll be 79, count them, 79 laps to go as Fisher will get us going once again. He gets a nice launch. Casto, a great restart for the driver of the 5 who's looking to get in the top 2 for the first time.
Oh, contact back behind with Kyle Riley, Chad Mikas, as well as the 27 of William Papacoletta, as the caution is out again.
Oh boy, in a parking lot off of turn 2, you see Preston Pardis is involved, Kyle Riley, the 63, Chad Mikas got tagged in it, Austin Drake hard into the outside wall after he got turned, Will Rogers is in it, and there's a laundry list of cars that are kind of caught in this one that have seemingly been involved in every wreck. Eric Kempf is in this one. Actually, yeah, he gets some pretty heavy damage from Austin Drake. Andrew Schwartz drives into the back of it. Man, I got to say, this is a case, Taylor. It's easier to say who hasn't been involved in anything, and the top 2 or 3 are about the safest bets here. But you could see 2, 3 wide, they're already sliding, and Riley just kind of cuts back down. Somebody's there. Austin Drake, that's some hard contact into the wall there. Pardis able to escape, but he gets a little bit of damage. You see Olson is involved, Schwartz, Stone. Wetz does a pretty nice job moving by, but man, just a lot of cars are going to be beat up towards the end of this field tonight.
A lot of cars have already been beat up here through the field tonight, but we still have a bunch of cars still out on the racetrack right now. Looking at probably 32, 33, 34 cars still out there racing. Now, not all of these drivers are clean cars per se, but they're still out there on the track trying to finish it out in one piece, as we are now 75 laps to go here in tonight's race.
With 75 to go, and the one thing I think that you start to have to worry about here is obviously lap 41 was the last time that a lot of these race leaders came down pit road. Now, of course, you're looking at about a 120 lap fuel window. Obviously, that would be 160 laps on fuel. Now, of course, under the caution flag, they're able to save a lot of gas. There's no question about that, and we've had our fair share of yellows so far. But are we on a scenario here, Taylor, where this is kind of where it gets interesting? You get a long string of yellows. You're not exactly sure if you're going to be able to make it to the end, because if we have a green flag run to the end, there's a lot of drivers who have been coming down, repairing their damage, but also putting fuel in the race car to where they don't have to worry. They're going to be able to make it to the end of this race. So if we get kind of that long green flag run, or even not, a lot of these race leaders are kind of trapped where they want to keep the track position, but they probably can't make it on fuel to the end of the race.
No, they can't. They are going to have to at least make one more pit stop, probably around 150, to make it to the end of this race. So we'll have to keep track to see who is able to do that. But still, a lot is still on the line for these drivers, because they don't want to go back to the end of the line to where they could get caught up in someone else's incident.
I don't think so, and that's something we'll have to look at, as the top 9 have not pit since lap 41, or actually, excuse me, Elliott Henderson came down pit road on lap 50, but he is the lone exception. Don't believe he took tires that would make a significant difference. But 10th on back, Jonathan Palmieri, Barbagaletta, Columbia, everybody on back since then has come down pit road. So it'll be interesting to see your top 8 or 9 if they have enough fuel to make it to the end, because saving 40 laps, you can definitely do it under caution, but even that's a steep mountain to climb. But we'll get going once again here as it continues to darken here at the Martinsville Speedway, nearly about 8 o'clock in the sim, and it is still cloudy here as Mercurio looking for the race lead for the first time. Casto and Frisch are banging doors back there for third.
They are still banging doors as they work their way down into turn number 1. We see Frisch and Perez going side by side as Frisch is trying to get to the outside of Sean Casto. Will not work this time as Perez now on the inside. Down the back straightaway, Elliott Henderson looks on as he tries to catch up and close the door to prevent Frisch from getting to the inside. Ryan Vargas right behind.
Oh, the caution is going to be thrown. It looked like somebody got turned about half sideways, but for the most part, I think they saved it as it was right behind Ryan Vargas once again. And yeah, actually, that's going to be the case. It's just Jonathan Taylor does about a 90-degree slide here through turns 3 and 4, but otherwise, then a couple of cars maybe getting a couple scratches out of that. Arnold Columbia comes in and gets a little scratch out of that. A pretty safe caution flag there as Taylor got tagged. I believe that was from Jonathan Palmieri. Yes, it was. But it's enough to bring out the caution flag. You see the 8 gets in there pretty deep, 7 spins sideways, and that's what brought out the caution. But otherwise, a pretty clean caution. I don't know if you can call a caution clean, but it appears that they were able to get through pretty well compared to most of the yellows we've seen tonight.
You probably have, as they are trying to get caught up to the pace car. Now the question is, who will come down pit road, as we are just seeing a couple of drivers from the top 5 have come down pit road. As we see, Chasto will be the new race leader once again here tonight, followed by Michael Frisch, Elliott Henderson, Jonathan Palmieri, and Arnold Columbia. Your top 5, looking through to see where Brad Perez will come out. He'll come out in 18th, Jake Fisher 17th. But the thing is, Brian Mercurio, he beat Jake Fisher off pit road. So if he's able to survive some way, somehow through this field, when the rest of the field comes down to pit, he will be the new race leader.
You know, one thing I liked about that replay, 6, 7, 8, 9 were all running nose to tail. Just something I noticed there. But absolutely, Mercurio able to win the race off of pit road. However, you have a fair amount of drivers, obviously, both on old and newer tires that elected to stay out there. Sean Casto and Michael Frisch and Elliott Henderson, kind of that group that hasn't pit since about lap 50 or so. They are your top three. Then Jonathan Palmieri, Arnold Columbia, Zachary Sullivan are out directly behind them. They came down on lap 96. Tristan Hagestein is in seventh. He has not pit since lap 41, and that's a marvelous feat with how beat up his race car is, that he has not come down pit road in nearly 100 laps. Chad Mikas pit on lap 89, Preston Pardus on lap 124. So although Mercurio and a couple of the race leaders come out, Taylor, that this is the risk that we were talking about that they're going to employ right here, that they come down, they get the fresh tires, they're going to be faster than the drivers in front of them, but the traffic and getting through and digging your way out of 15th is going to be it's going to be a tall task.
Yes, indeed. But we're going to see if Mercurio, along with Fisher and Perez and Ryan Vargas, are able to get through the field cleanly once we go back green flag racing, which should be next time by.
We'll see if we can't get the one to go signal this time by from race control, and it looks like we're able to get it. So one to go here is lap 134. Going to click off the board. We'll restart with 66 circuits left here around the Martinsville Speedway. And for the first time tonight, it's going to be led to the green flag by Sean Casto, Michael Frisch to his outside, and Elliott Henderson, the admin here at VSCRA, trying to see what they can do. Casto gonna get us going right here as the green flag is out. A late jump there from Casto kind of stacks up this whole field. A great start for Henderson as he's able to get away, but Frisch hanging strong there on the high side. He's gonna have the runoff as there's some contact there back of the pack. They were 4 wide for just a moment.
And we saw Mercurio loses a lot of time right there as he sees contact in front of him. Michael Frisch is involved. Vargas is involved. Mercurio is able to get by. So a tough call indeed for we saw as we see that Fisher is involved once again with this incident here, and that's going to be detrimental for him.
It is. Jacob Fisher was actually kind of moving his way forward on the bottom as he made it 3 wide to try to get by the 63 of Eric Kemp, and it looked like he wasn't expecting the 34 of Seth Rowland to be there. So Rowland kind of moves on down. You see some heavy damage there for the 84 car. You see a couple of other drivers that were involved in this one as well. Some of our front runners that elected to come down pit road were involved in that. Mercurio is able to escape it. Brad Perez gets some damage out of it. I believe Ryan Vargas is going to have a little bit of damage on his TikTok machine as well. But so a little bit of ancillary damage there, but this was the risk that you run. But unfortunately for Fisher, rather, it doesn't work out. But I think Mercurio probably comes out better than anybody out of it because he has the fresh tires and he kind of made up some decent track position there.
He certainly has now, as Mercurio has brought it up to the 15th spot along with Vargas, who's right in front of him in 14. But I have to say the biggest loser has to go to none other than Jake Fisher, who got involved with that incident, but he is still holding 12th.
As we'll take a look, you see an aggressive move right here from Fisher, and I have to say, you have to make up spots when you can, and I just think he was more worried about the outside battle and never thought that Rowland, who was kind of running all on his own, was even going to be there. And you see him punt him around, loses the nose of his 84 Chevrolet, but for the most part, and yeah, there you see the spin around there that'll lose him a lot of track position there. And obviously the fresh tires that he enjoyed, he's no longer going to be able to enjoy that. You see Schwartz, Austin Drake able to scurry around that as well. This is what's so hard is you see somebody in front of you, you're on fresh tires. Sometimes you just can't anticipate the speed difference.
That certainly is, and it's very difficult to try to guesstimate the speed difference for several drivers when you're entering the braking zone. Some drivers like to try to carry it a little longer, more speed into the corners. Others try to make sure they can back off in order to get better corner exit. It all depends on the driver's skill and style of driving.
Certainly so. As now, ooh, the lights have flipped on here. I just saw that the virtual lights here at Martinsville just kicked in as they'll take some time to warm up here, but it is awfully dark here at Martinsville. It has been completely under cloud cover this entire race. 81-degree track temperatures. The lights will go off on the pace car, but it's one of the unique additions now to the Martinsville Speedway, the being able to have a night race, and obviously the capability to do kind of a transition race day to night, like you'll see in the Cup races the last couple of years. You've seen a lot of those Martinsville races kind of in when it's been relatively dark. 86% humidity, which is, I didn't even take note of that. That is pretty interesting. Wears the tires out a little more, gets them a little slicker. But Sean Casto once again up front. Elliot Henderson has moved his way up into the second position. So we'll see what Casto and Henderson are able to do. Is a great launch there from Casto. Can Henderson get down to clear for second? It doesn't appear he's going to be able to do so. Here comes Jonathan Palmieri with fresh tires to the inside.
As we work their way down through the back straightaway, entering turn number 3 and 4, several cars getting bunched up a little bit, but keeping it clean and green right now through the field. As they work their way off of turn number 4, Michael Frisch trying to get around the 62 of Kyle Riley once he's back in the top 10, but he's stuck on that outside group. It's going to make it a little interesting, but some cars are struggling on the inside lane. More checkup Alpha 2.
Yeah, they were 2 and 3 wide back there, as you can see them scattering throughout the field. As you see the 7 of Jonathan Taylor, he's going to go to the inside of Ryan Vargas. You can see a 2x2 stack up in front of them as Henderson able to make his way by for the second position. 3 wide. Oh, Taylor, Riley, and Vargas. So Riley's going to get punted sideways, and oh, Mercurio's in it. He clips the cone. He may need a black flag cleared there, but Mercurio going to lose a handful of spots there.
That poor cone didn't know what hit him as they continue on their way here tonight at Martinsville Speedway. Coming up, closing in on 50 laps to go. A couple of drivers up in front. Sean Casto and Jonathan Taylor is trying to make it 3 wide, but doesn't quite make it work as they come off of turn number 2. Down the back straightaway, Ryan Vargas looking to the outside as he goes and tries to go around the 88 of Chad Mikas, but it's to no avail right now as they come off of turn 4.
No avail indeed. Is Taylor going to look to the inside of Chad Mikas, and it looks like he's going to be in a good position to complete that pass. About 40 lap fresher Goodyear Eagles is what both Jonathan Taylor and Ryan Vargas are sporting right now over that 88 Chevrolet. Is Vargas going to send it in there, nearly contact there with the Mountain Dew machine, but Vargas going to do enough to be able to move forward. And now Mikas is in a really tight position here on old tires and getting freight train here on the high side. Not a good spot to be in.
It certainly is not. He is definitely struggling in that outside lane. He might have a shot, but here comes Nick Silver to the inside. He's going to try to fill the hole, but Chad Mikas will drop to the inside off 4 and hold position as we see the 27 or the 99 of Tristan Hagenstein hit the wall off turn 4.
Hagenstein hits the wall. One driver wants by Preston Pardis, and that was Jonathan Taylor. And both Ryan Vargas, is Vargas going to be able to take advantage. This is the battle for the 8th position as they're going to wreck, I believe, on the back straightaway. Is the caution flag going to be displayed once again? And we'll have to see. I think actually we'll see here who is involved in this one. I believe it was one car spun to the inside. Yep, it was Hayden Law after they stacked up Aaron Hale, the 00 get together. 27 drives through it of Barbagaletta. So once again, a lot of names we've heard a lot tonight, and not for good reason. Oh boy, yeah, a lot of hard hits here on the back straightaway.
Certainly indeed, as they work their way through the field. And actually Barbagaletta gets another tap indeed and puts into the outside wall this time around. So I think it's safe to say his night might be done here pretty shortly.
We'll have to see as it is the caution flag brought out once again here from the Martinsville Speedway. He's actually spun under caution right now. So he lost it on the grass as he was working around to lap 148. But we'll talk about that in a moment. We're going to go side by side and bring you to the checkered flag here for the VSCRA National Premier Series of Martinsville. We'll be right back. The lights are off the pace car once again. Blake McCandless, Taylor Burris, as well as our producer, Zach Johnson, down in the virtual production trailer, bringing you live flag-to-flag coverage of the VSCRA National Premier Series from Martinsville. And we're going to be back going green with 48 laps to go. Sean Casto, Jonathan Palmieri, Jake Fisher, Arnold Columbia, and Zachary Sullivan, your top 5. And a big stack up here from Jake Fisher. That's going to cause a lot here. They're going to make it through turn 1. They're 3. They're door banging. Somehow they make it through. Pardis gets shoved out wide, but oh man, was that a huge moment.
Talk about a huge moment. Hold your breath and pray that you're able to get through that corner as they work their way through turns 3 and 4. 3 wide. Pardis as well as the 9 and Nick Silver as they get punted into the wall a little bit. Will Rogers has big contact in front of them. Car sliding contact around 4 wide even. 5 wide almost as they come off turn 2. I don't know how they were able to get around and survive that.
Oh boy, and did that create an opportunity for Ryan Vargas, who finds himself all the way in the 4th position now to the inside of Arnold Columbia. He's got an opportunity to run for 3rd.
Oh, trouble in the front straightaway.
Oh, man. Oh, that is a huge wreck right there. The 56, Barbagaletta is in it. The 2 machine, you see the 00, as if a lot of those cars couldn't take more damage they do there. I just don't understand how they were able to save it up front despite all that was going on. And then I think it was Barbagaletta who got loose, and my goodness, Aaron Hale, Chad Mikas, a big shove behind. Barbagaletta gets loose off of 4. He hooks Sprague in the right rear, and Kyle Riley has nowhere to go. Barbagaletta's around. You know, I got to say, I know they don't have fast repair show, but I don't see how some of these cars are still running.
I think it's safe to say Barbagaletta has been involved just about in every single caution here tonight. One way or another, whether it be him in starting the wreck or him getting caught up in the wreck. Even when he thinks he's safe, he gets caught up in the wreck. I mean, I hate to say it, but Barbagaletta has been involved and has had one of those nights he wants to just move on to the next week.
My goodness, that is another large accident. You see right there, Hale and Mikas, my goodness, they're blocking low. It looks like you're clear right here. Here's Stone as you see a couple of cars, and there's just nowhere to go right there for Stone. He loses the nose of his Caterpillar Chevrolet. And, you know, a lot of cars are like that. I can't believe how many back here actually still have a nose on their machine. But I think looking back at that restart, Taylor, we saw a large checkup to start it. Jake Fisher just, I don't know if he missed a gear or what happened. There was just a large stack up that kind of scattered things for the rest of that run. And we even saw a big move out where a couple of drivers, I believe Frisch as well, kind of got shoved to the back. But Vargas and it looks like Jake Fisher, as well as Jonathan Taylor, are able to take advantage. They're going to have fresh tires against all these guys up here who are on the old ones. Again, Sean Casto still has not pit since lap 41.
He certainly has not, and he is still working his way through up in the race lead right now, holding off Jake Fisher and Arnold Columbia. But he's going to need to come down pit road here very soon. Even with all these cautions, he cannot make it to the end.
And maybe I'll stop mentioning. I know I mentioned earlier DJ Moore, 0 points for my fantasy team. He still has 0 through the 3rd quarter. You hate to see it, but nevertheless, we'll keep on trucking along here from Martinsville in the Xfinity cars. Sean Casto again still out front despite being on those old tires. Jake Fisher pit at lap 130 along with Ryan Vargas. So you really have an entire row here up top made up of cars who pit on lap 130. Everyone, actually the first 5 cars in that outside row is going to be Fisher, Vargas, Taylor, Perez, Rogers. They're all on fresh tires. So it should be interesting to see everybody up there and see how powerful that outside lane could potentially be on this restart. So we'll get the 1-to-go signal.
It's going to be interesting to see if Sean Casto is able to hold them off, but it's going to be a tall order for that number 5 here, especially with how long he's been out on the track.
Casto, Fisher, Vargas, your top 4 as we will try to get things going back in the right direction. We know we mentioned time earlier as we have worked 16 cautions here at Martinsville. 17 will be up next. Don't think timing should be an issue here as we go, but perhaps green-white checkers could shake all that up. A nice restart for Casto as there are 2 and 3 wide back in the pack around the Jonathan Palmieri machine, but Vargas, a healthy restart right there. And right now they are all over the back bumper of Sean Casto. Vargas to the bottom of Jake Fisher, and Fisher going to be able to clear him for second. He's looking for the run off the corner. He's looking to go to the race lead as he disappears. Not only does he disappear, the entire field disappears behind Vargas because Arnold Columbia got spun from 4th, and the caution flag is going to take out, and the entire field piles into that one. Oh man, did a lot of drivers get involved in this one.
Oh my goodness, where to start with this situation? I mean, pick a car and just watch the chaos ensue here. As we come down the back straightaway here, we see the incident happen. As cars start to check up, contact is made, around goes Arnold Columbia, and then the rest of the field is just checked up. More cars getting involved, some of them to the inside, but it looked like the most towards the outside of the racetrack were the ones who got the most damage. Brian Mercurio, one of them, being involved in that incident.
Yeah, it looked like it all started there. Columbia got in a little hot, got a little loose, made some contact to the door of Jonathan Taylor, and Zachary Sullivan just could not check up in time for that contact. So a lot of guys get tagged in this one, but nothing too significant for anybody, especially considering most of the field and the contact and the damage that they have. This isn't really anything new for a lot of these drivers. So caution flag out for the 17th time tonight. And Taylor, I had some hope that we were going to get going under green for a while, but it's just one of those things about Martinsville. It's hard to do, and despite a lead that we've come to, and they've run under the green flag a fair amount of the laps that we've seen, whether it's Kansas, Texas that we saw last week, a large portion of that race run under green. It's just a lot of hard short track racing here has kind of changed that all up. And by the way, development, Sean Casto has come down pit road from the race lead.
They certainly have. They worked their way through. And Sean Casto is going to get his pit service required, so that way he can make it to the end. That will put Jake Fisher as your new race leader.
You see 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles going on for Sean Casto, who kind of flips the script here. He'll have some fresh tires to go along with this one. You see some of the cars on pit road that have really been racing the pace car for the majority of the last 100 laps or so, trying to fix as much damage as they can. It's hard to do here at Martinsville because of how short the track is, how quickly the pace car runs. Of course, you have 45-second lap times here, so to go down, fix as much as you can, you really get about 10-15 seconds at the most to try and repair some damage. And I think that kind of contributes to why you see so many cars who have damage. Obviously, being involved in something is the cause of it, but it is very, very difficult to find the time to repair your car when you're going a lap down almost as soon as you pull onto pit road.
They certainly would indeed, and it's going to be difficult for some of these drivers to try to get back on the lead lap with how much damage they have to their cars. Even though aero's not going to be effective for these cars because of how short of a track we're running, it still can affect the engine. It can still affect the handling of your race car.
So we'll try to do it once again as Jake Fisher has found his way back to the race lead despite the damaged race car. You see Ryan Vargas to his outside, Taylor and Perez directly behind them. We'll see who escapes this time. Fisher, a great restart for him, but also a good one. You see them working 3 wide there. That's the 8 as Andrew Schwartz up there in the middle is able to shut the door on that battle. You see them scattering 2 wide, but they look up front. Ryan Vargas trying to find a way around Jake Fisher for the race lead.
Ryan Vargas has now caught up to Jake Fisher as they dive it into turn 1 and 2. Here comes Jonathan Taylor, almost having to get into the back bumper of Ryan Vargas, but is able to avoid that as they go side by side for 5th. Elliott Henderson to the outside, Will Rogers to the inside as they enter turn 3.
Well, and it looks like Vargas in the top two able to escape pretty easily here. You see a side-by-side battle. The 37 and the 55 go as they look nearly three wide around the Michael Frisch machine. Some great battles going on all over this racetrack. You see Rogers going to look to the inside of Perez, and he's going to be there and send it in. The 37 to Henderson, he'll just get out of the way. He recognizes it. He'll let those guys battle it off. He's going to get a run off the top side and go to battle with Brian Mercurio. That is once again the battle for the 6th position, as it looks like Mercurio going to be able to make his way on by.
He certainly is. He's going to look to the inside of Will Rogers. They'll go side by side in the middle of turns 1 and 2 and able to make a nice clean pass as they work their way off turn number 4. And a great battle between these two drivers. Mercurio, who's been the dominant driver for the last 3 races now, gets around Will Rogers and move him up into 6th position. Caution is out once again.
And as soon as we're starting to get some pretty intense racing up here at the front of the field, once again, the caution flag is displayed for the 18th time this evening. And where we'll have to see, I'm trying to look on my screen. I believe it's the 63. Perhaps Preston Pardis actually brought this caution flag out. No, he saved it in 1 and 2. But I think it was enough to trigger the caution flag. He just kind of got on the brakes too hard. We mentioned the rear brake and the amount you have to put in these cars. He does a little dirt tracking through the grass here in turns 1 and 2, but it was enough, I guess. He was turned sideways to trigger the caution flag being thrown as he made some contact with Arnold Columbia. We'll see it on our screen.
As we wait and see when the field comes across the start-finish line, we are going to be closing in on 25 laps to go here at Martinsville Speedway. Can Jake Fisher hold off Ryan Vargas, or will Ryan Vargas finally make his way up to victory lane here tonight?
Well, we know that obviously Fisher has been strong all night. He's had some experience up front, and we know that car that's behind Jonathan Taylor, we know Vargas is going to shut the door. I mean, the one thing about Arby's is we know Arby's, they don't serve chicken nuggies, and we know that Ryan Vargas loves those. So he's definitely going to try to block the car behind him who maybe does not have chicken nuggets available at their restaurant. So we'll see if Vargas can hang on there over second and over Jonathan Taylor. But don't forget about Brad Perez and, of course, Brian Mercurio, who is slowly but steadily, despite all the accidents that he's kind of missed, he is still lurking there in the 5th position. He has a good opportunity to move forward as well.
He certainly does, as we keep track and see who will be able to come out on top here tonight, as Mercurio finds his way back inside the top 5. And definitely is one to watch. Could he continue his streak? Looking throughout the field, we still see Nick Olson running inside the top 10 along with Nick Silver. Nick Olson's been involved in a lot of controversy here tonight. Can someone else maybe be holding a grudge, battling it out with him toward the end?
We'll see. I think at this point, Taylor, I don't think Olson is unique. I think everybody about here tonight has run into somebody or had somebody run into them. I don't think you can single any one person out. I think for the most part, somebody has made somebody else upset, and in turn, they're not thinking too fondly of somebody else out in the field either as well. By this point, I mean, we've worked under 18 caution flags. We may have the potential for 19 or 20 here to reach that milestone. So we'll see if we can avoid doing that. But once again, Jake Fisher, Ryan Vargas, and Jonathan Taylor, your top 3. I may be jumping myself here. I thought we were getting the one to go right there. I believe we'll get that this time by. And yep, just got to look at the lights on the pace car, and yep, we'll get them this time.
Got a little bit ahead of yourself there, Blake. You're excited with seeing what's going to happen in these last 25 laps here at Martinsville. Pace car is leading them out of turn 2. Double file restart here once again, and the excitement will continue as some black cars are getting off pit road and trying to catch up to the tail end of the field.
Am getting excited. The opportunity for these drivers to pit is pretty much out the window. Don't think you can gain all that track position all too quickly. Sean Casto, though, back in 12th, he pit on lap 163. He was, of course, the race leader a little bit earlier, so we'll have to see if he can make his way through the field. Great launch, though, for Jacob Fisher as Vargas trying to hold on to the outside, but he's not going to be able to throw the block. The Arby's machine directly beneath him as they're going to go side by side for second. This is going to allow Fisher to pull away, and can Vargas get down to the bottom before Taylor passes him? And, of course, Brian Mercurio on the inside as well.
Here they go off of turn number 4. Vargas trying to hold off Jonathan Taylor at the inside as they work into 1 and 2. There we see Brian Mercurio fighting Brett Perez as well as they come off of turn number 2 down the back straightaway. Mercurio takes a peek to the outside. Will he take it 3 wide into turn 3? No, he's going to stay in line behind Jonathan Taylor as him and Vargas do battle once again. Mercurio will try to hold the line. Now he's going to dip out a little bit more. Will he take it 3 wide? He's going to try to. Down into turn 1 they will go. Taylor gives them room as contact almost is made. Mercurio to the inside as they come off turn 2.
Oh, man, Mercurio's in a great spot right now. They're working 3 wide down the back straightaway. Mercurio, Taylor, and Vargas there on the top side, and they are making it work. Some contact there between Taylor and Vargas, and oh, Frisch and Taylor get tangled together, and Frisch is going to go around here on the front straightaway. Oh, and he's going to get tagged by several cars as it looked like that was going to be a pretty clean battle right there. We saw them go 3 wide through 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So a nice job there. It was Mercurio, Taylor, and Vargas that were able to do that. It looks like Taylor was trying to get back down to the bottom. He made contact with Vargas, and then he came back across the track and clipped Michael Frisch there. And unfortunately, Frisch, another driver who kind of did a nice job working his way through the field as he did last week. Unfortunately, he gets hit, and he gets hit hard by the oncoming traffic.
He certainly does. That will end his night probably here at Martinsville Speedway with under 20 laps to go here. Unfortunate run for him as he was having one of the strongest runs we've seen all night.
He was he was able to do that. As now we hear the call from from Jonathan Taylor saying we were 3 wide at Martinsville, and I know I got to play devil's advocate on the driver myself, Taylor. I wouldn't say I'm definitely guilty of running and putting some 3 wide moves on some guys at Martinsville. But guess what? You could probably fit 5 or 6 lanes out here, and we saw from Vargas, Taylor, and Mercurio there for a handful of laps. You know, you can run 3 wide here. You just got to be able to handle it. And unfortunately, Taylor just got loose on the straightaway, and you know he's fine. But unfortunately for Frisch, he gets turned around and gets a nice little shot there from Olsen. And oh, here comes the 51 in there as well.
I mean, you can make it 3 wide, but are you brave enough? Apparently you are, Blake, and of course we saw that from Brian Mercurio, but you have to make sure you are able to make it commitment to run 3 wide, as we just saw Mercurio do. But unfortunately what happened is some drivers were just not able to handle the situation.
It's definitely tough. You need a lot of trust for the drivers around you to be able to make that work. But you know, it was something we saw, and again, it's mostly on the guy who's on the top 3 wide to recognize that. And Vargas, being the experienced driver that he is, he recognized it, and he gave those guys plenty of room to sort things out. He did a really nice job there. When you're on the top 3 wide of Martinsville, you pretty much know that you can't. It's not like you're going to pinch a guy and win that battle on the top side. You pretty much know that you're going to get shuffled on back somehow. So he did a nice job backing out of that, and because of all that, he's able to miss it all and still rebound and restart in 5th position.
He certainly is. Now that he's going to be running in 5th, will he be able to find a way to catch back up and work his way up through the field to take away the win? He's got less than 20 laps to do so.
Just under, we'll take 16 laps to go when we take the green flag, and Jake Fisher and Brian Mercurio, and what a job that Mercurio's done marching through the field. We mentioned that pitting at the time that they did, it was going to be really difficult for Mercurio to make his way forward. We even saw him involved in a couple of accidents, but other than a couple of scrapes and bruises, it seems as though Mercurio's been able to kind of balance his way to the front. We also have to mention directly behind them, Kyle Riley pit on lap 148, and he is really the only driver that I see up in the top 10 other than Sean Casto, who has some fresher tires than pretty much everybody running around him. So can Kyle Riley on about 18 lap fresher tires make something happen here on the high side? We'll have to see if he's in a good spot to try and win this race. But Fisher, Mercurio, after 19 cautions have been run, 4 lead changes, We'll see if we get another one right here. Jake Fisher in control of the field. Green flag is out. What a great launch he gets. And to the inside is Jonathan Taylor looking for third as Mercurio trying to hold on the high side.
More caution. Yep. Well, we're going to try again here tonight. We will get this race finished here tonight. It's just a matter of it's what will be under caution as more cars are spinning out. It looked like the 8 of Jonathan Palmieri was just absolutely just spun out from the 27. I mean, oh yeah, the 27 just absolutely turned him for no reason whatsoever.
You know, I'm looking at the 27 running under caution. He was actually so he was pacing along. Tristan Hagenstein had a lot of damage, but he also he blew up. Once the pace car went on a pit road, his engine started smoking, and unfortunately, it was right before they took the restart. So you can see right here, he starts smoking. He goes to the middle to get the guys on the high side, you know, the restart, and he's just kind of in the middle here, and he has nowhere to go. He's just trying to get out of the way, and unfortunately, there you see the 00. He actually gets turned by the 8 car of Palmieri, who was trying to make it 3-4 wide as they went into turn 1. He barely had a nose underneath them, and that was just really an awkward stack up there because, again, Hagenstein just blew up. Nothing he could do there, and it was just unfortunate timing there. Right before they dropped the green flag, he starts billowing smoke.
Yeah, that's something that I'm pretty sure the officials are going to have a talking to. I mean, when your engine blows up, the best thing to probably try and do is just pull off and get a tow instead of just trying to stay on track. That's just going to cause more issues.
It seems that way, although, I mean, I got a feel for Hagenstein because everybody out here is running with some significant damage. You just never know, perhaps when that gauge gets a little bit too high, and, you know, unfortunately, it did right there. We don't get a look at the volts and the gauges, exactly what he was seeing behind his race car. They keep all that to the driver of each respective car, because obviously that'd be an issue if it wasn't that way. But it's going to set up a very late race run here. Riley did look strong on those fresh tires, but we'll just have to get a green flag run that's long enough for him to see if he's able to take advantage of it. So we'll run under caution right now. We'll cross over 10 laps to go, or under 10 laps to go this time by. Lights are still on the pace car, but of course we mentioned potential for green-white checkers, and you know, Taylor, I'd say the odds are, compared to a lot of races we had this season, they're pretty high for them to happen here at Martinsville.
Certainly has, as William Barbagaletta has been disqualified here tonight after that incident that happened.
Yeah, Barbagaletta laps down, and it looks like race control. He was 19 laps down running where he was, and, you know, obviously was involved in a lot of accidents. So race control just said, you know what, I'm just done with you. So bye. See you later. So Barbagaletta is out of this race. There's a handful of drivers that will not see the green flag of this one. Barbagaletta, Roland, Bell, Bland, Nate Stewart, several drivers will not see the checkered flag in this one. But we still have 10 laps to go. Jake Fisher, once again, he's in control of the restart, and he gets a nice little launch there, but so does Jonathan Taylor to the inside of Brian Mercurio. Kyle Riley also looking to maybe put the back bumper to the back of the 41. They'll go side by side off at 2. Mercurio, a nice run on the top.
Ooh, Sean Casto in the 5 tried to do a big run to the inside of 69 of Will Rogers, but Rogers put the block on him as they entered 3 and 4, but continue on as they come off turn 4. Casto with the fresher tires as the caution comes out.
And another big wreck in the back of the pack, and you've heard these names recycled throughout the night. Again, I am amazed, Taylor, that half of these cars are still able to run. You see Joey Stone, Aaron Hale, Hayden Wall. It looked like perhaps some contact between the 24 and the 22 kind of started that one, but yeah, these guys have had better nights. Aaron Hale, Joey Stone, Hayden Lull. You also see the 8 of Jonathan Palmieri kind of runs into that accident. The 00, who's been involved in a handful tonight. The 51. Yeah, a lot of drivers who have really just they're going to want to drive out of Martinsville and forget this night ever happened.
He certainly probably is, as he's wanting this night to come to an end as soon as possible here, which will happen here very shortly.
Let's see if it happens very shortly. As again, tempers are flaring. The in-game communication systems here, Taylor, has been been an interesting point tonight. We've heard a lot of drivers queue up and voice their displeasure tonight. And I don't think you can be too surprised when you talk about Martinsville, hearing drivers and tempers flaring. That comes with the territory.
Certainly is. I mean, when you're at Martinsville, you're bound to expect major incidents to happen. You're expecting cautions here. You just have to be patient, try to keep a cool head, and hopefully survive.
Survival is the name of the game, and well, we've almost survived this one. We'll bring it forward here. The lights are still on the pace car. 5 laps to go is the scheduled distance right here, as we are working lap 196 of 200. We've had well over 20 caution flags that have slowed the going here at Martinsville. Just waiting to get those last couple of laps completed here. And will we see a new winner, or will we see a new Mr. October? Is Mercurio trying to go back to back to back to back here in the month of October to try and round out his 6th win of the season. But of course, the other thing, Taylor, is it's late in the going. It's money time. If you're going to put a bump and run on somebody, you can't really think of a better time to do it than right now.
He sure is. This is the time to make it count here, especially when we come back to green. It'll be 3 laps to go.
It'll be 3 to go, as you mentioned, when we get back going under the green flag. So a very short restart here will be a natural green-white checkered that obviously wouldn't count as any of the 3 overtime attempts that we would get in this race. So you're going to have to do it quick. Jake Fisher has been awfully strong on these restarts all night long. But is there anything that Mercurio, Taylor, Riley, Vargas could have learned, because we've had so many restarts? Fisher's probably done about 10 or 15 himself alone tonight already, so can't have these drivers learn something from those restarts to try and maybe figure out where he's taking off, getting an advantage here. You see Jake Fisher, he'll give about 10 car lengths to the pace car here to try to keep these guys guessing on when exactly he's going to go. So he could go right now if he wanted to. He's just playing kind of some restart games right here, making these guys wonder, making them think. And he looks like he's actually going to go a little bit later up. Great jump for Taylor, who gets the jump on Mercurio. We'll have 2 laps to go.
Down into turn 1, a couple of cars getting sideways, but is able to gain control. 3 wide for Sean Casto as he tries to get around Will Rogers and the 37 of Elliott Henderson. But if he gets around Rogers, he now sets his sight on Elliott Henderson on the outside, side by side, 4 rows deep as they come off of turn 4.
And we are going to see the white flag this time, so we will take it around to the checkered flag. One more trip around the paperclip here at Martinsville, and it looks like Jake Fisher, if he can just get through one more set of corners as they battle side by side behind them, Taylor and Mercurio going at it, but it looks like it's not going to be enough. It's going to be Jake Fisher who holds on, and with the car that looks like it belongs in the modified class, is going to go to victory lane here at Martinsville. It looks like Mercurio on the outside gets the best of Jonathan Taylor there for second. Or yes, Mercurio in second. Taylor there comes home in third. Ryan Vargas and Kyle Riley will round out your top 5 in an attrition field race. 25 cars still finished on the lead lap, but Fisher did enough to survive and advance his way in.
He certainly has. What a job for Jake Fisher to survive here all 200 laps at the paperclip.
he survives, and we'll take a look at the full field leaderboard here. Jake Fisher obviously ends up in victory lane. Brian Mercurio brings it home in second. Jonathan Taylor, as mentioned, will bring it home in third. As get a nice little look at the Steel Series machine doing a burnout here on the front straightaway. Ryan Vargas finishes up in the fourth position in the TikTok Chevrolet. Kyle Riley brings it home with a top 5. A nice solid job for him as he started fourth and finishes up in fifth. Brad Perez brings it home in the sixth position, exactly where he started. Seventh goes to Elliot Henderson, the hard charger tonight. 36th to 7th is how much he marched up through the field. Arnold Columbia finishes up in eighth. Sean Casto and Nick Silver round out your top 10.
Will Rogers will come home in 11th, followed by Preston Pardus in 12th. Chad Micas will come home in 13th, followed by Andrew Schwartz in 14th. Austin Drake will come home in the 15th position, followed by Gabe Herschel in 16th. Eric Keft in 17th. Edwin Mendez will come home 18th. 19th goes to Richard Sprague Jr. Rounding out your top 20, Nick Olson.
21st goes to Samuel Hoff. 22nd will go to Zachary Sullivan. Jonathan Palmieri finishes up in the 23rd position. Aaron Hale, 24th. 25th, Joey Stone. 26th, and again, these are the cars that were scored a lap down. Stone was 1. Chris Wetz was 4 in 26th. 27th to Hayden Lull. 28th to Tristan Hagenstein. 29th, Austin Moore. And after being involved in that late caution, 30th was Michael Frisch.
31st goes to Seelan Rowland, followed by Jonathan Bell in 32nd. 33rd goes to Justin Bland, followed by Nate Stewart in 34. 35th goes to Peter Acumano, followed by Ethan Stuckwish in 36. 37th goes to Timmy Pacioli, and rounding out your 38th and 39th position, William Barbagaletta and Mitchell Riggs, who have been disqualified from tonight's race.
And that'll round out your full field here as we're going to bring Jake Fisher up here into the booth. And Jake, what an interesting race that was. We saw that your car got all torn up there, but it just seemed, regardless, you had the speed to get it done tonight.
Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. You guys got me?
We got you loud and clear.
All right, yeah. Man, I'm pumped up about that one. We finished second about every race, but 3 of them, I think, or 4 of them so far this season. And these past couple weeks have been tough. We got destroyed at Kansas by about every single person who tried to pass us, and then just Texas wasn't our day. So coming back here, it was wild. I knew coming in it was going to be pretty crazy, and just had to survive to the end to get it done.
Well, it wasn't just craziness. Obviously, you started on the pole and led a majority of this race early on. I know, obviously, attrition became part of this race, but it just seemed like you took a liking to the Martinsville Speedway. Will that be an accurate assessment, I suppose?
Oh, absolutely. Up until this year, 2020, majority of my racing I would do would be with the late models and super late models. So short tracks are just always something I love, and it kind of falls in with road courses too. We ran pretty well at the Roval. It's just tracks, where you got to use a lot of brakes. Are tracks where I can perform.
Well, Jake, you get your first win here this season, and I'll go ahead and throw the mic over to you. I know you got a lot of people to thank out there for getting you here to Victory Lane for the first time.
Yeah, obviously, I just want to give a big thank you to Space Station Gaming and everybody over there. Champion, Raven, AK Racing, and Steel Series on the car this week. It's really cool to have a new paint scheme out here. And then obviously everybody over at Deal Performance Esports, Jonathan Taylor, Ryan Vargas, and Brad Perez all worked together there on those last couple restarts, and it all worked out pretty well for us.
Certainly did. Well, we'll go let you celebrate with your teammates there. Congratulations. And obviously, you're the winner tonight at Martinsville. I'm sure it feels good. Congratulations.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, guys.
All right, that is Jake Fisher. He brings it home in first. And I think for the first time, Taylor, we actually get you to catch up with Brian Mercurio, who brings it home in second.
Here with Brian Mercurio coming home in second here tonight at Martinsville. Brian, you've had a up and down kind of night dealing with all the craziness towards the back half of the field after that pit stop. Tell us how your race went.
I think it was going pretty good at first. I know we kind of had that chaos going on in qualifying, so I felt like I could have probably qualified at least in the top 3, but with the way the qualifying happened and everything, kind of started a few rows back. Felt pretty good. Worked my way up front. Don't think I ever actually took the lead, but I was running behind Jake for quite a while there. And then kind of midway, not midway through the race, more like around lap 130 or so. Him and I pitted, and then it was just a mission to try to climb back through the field. He got really lucky at some parts, just trying to cut through the traffic. I got trapped up high sometimes, and those guys on slower tires tended to wash up the track a little bit. So I lost a lot of time there, and it was just kind of a struggle to climb back up. But I'm fortunate it kind of worked out the way it did. Maybe I would have had a chance at Jake if we got maybe a 5-lap run or something like that, but it just didn't work out like that.
Tell the viewers here tonight how difficult it was here at Martinsville with the traffic, with just the continuous stopping and starting with the cautions here tonight.
It's pretty tough, especially for a while there. I was stuck in second place, and it's probably the hardest place to restart here on this track. The guys back in third and fourth, one row behind you, they got a clear view of the leaders, so they can get a really good jump. I know quite a few times I had Kyle right behind me, and him and I were talking throughout the race. We were in the same Discord there, and he'd be able to get really good starts, and sometimes he'd try to give me a little bump here and there, try to help me get a little bit of a better restart. But being in second's really tough there, so that was just kind of annoying, knowing that I'd have to maybe get like 5 or 7 laps even to try to get behind the leader to slot in behind him. I know I could at least try to roll on the outside around some of those guys, but that was one thing. And then when I got caught deep in the field after I pit there for the last time, trying to cut through all those guys, you're on fresh tires and you think you're Superman and you could just slice through everybody, but you really got to remember to be patient. And when we pit, there's 70 laps left in the race. There's going to be a lot of cautions. It's going to be a slow process, and you just have to trust that it's going to work out in the end. And didn't quite get to first, but after everything I went through, I'll take a second place.
All right. Is there anyone you would like to say thank you to before we let you go and enjoy this victory or this second place finish?
Thank you guys for broadcasting this tonight. Zach for putting together the broadcast, for you and Blake for broadcasting, or for commentating rather. Elliot for putting on the league every week. I know this might have been the cleanest of races, but sometimes you kind of got to expect a Martinsville race to be sloppy. As much as I hate to say that, that's it's unfortunately how these things play out. So thankful that Elliot toughed it out, went through all of it. Low line racing, DM software, and I think that's about it for me.
All right, that is Brian Mercurio coming home in second place here tonight at Martinsville, and our Blake McCandless has caught up with our final driver of the podium, Jonathan Taylor.
And Jonathan, you had a couple of interesting moments there late in the going. Some of these late restarts were just really chaotic and crazy, but you seemed to do enough to get going there. How was it from your perspective those last couple of laps, Jonathan?
I mean, it was tough, right? You had Brian and Kyle on clearly better tires, and I, after kind of all the chaos that happened, I had no front turn left in the car, so just trying to hang on as best I could and give Jake something, but I just kept having Brian run up on my outside, which he's supposed to do. So I mean, it's tough, hard racing there at the end. Really wanted to give Jake a shot, but I'm happy for him. He was a good friend of mine, so good race. Happy with third. One of my better tracks though, so I'll be happy with it.
I was about to say, for pretty much everybody that finished up here towards the front, they for the most part started there, but you started from a little further back in the field. How were you able to kind of navigate your way through, especially early on? We had some green flag racing, so I guess you were just able to work your way through traffic pretty well.
Yeah, I had a really bad qualifying run. So starting 22nd was obviously not the ideal situation, but I knew kind of in that early run, if I could, stay patient and kind of let the field play out, I could get up there. And by the time we got to that second caution at about lap 50 or 60, I was up to, I think, 9th. So I knew I had the speed and just stayed patient. You can make up spots, and then after that, it's all about track position and when I got those fresh tires, taking advantage of it. So yeah, I mean, 20 seconds obviously difficult to come from at Martinsville, but I trusted it, stayed patient, used the front bumper when I needed to, and just tried to make as much ground as I could.
Well, Jonathan, go ahead, throw the mic to you one more time. Anybody need to give a shout out? This is your opportunity.
Not just want to give a shout to all the DL guys. We worked really well tonight, kind of with pitting strategy, kind of navigating our way through the field. So appreciate those guys and having the opportunity to work with them. It's a privilege on my end, and I'm just thankful for them and everything that we were able to accomplish together.
All right. Well, Jonathan, we appreciate you stopping with us. Obviously, a good job tonight in that Arby's machine, and you're able to bring it home third tonight. So good job for that and being able to make it through. And we'll hope to talk to you in the future.
Thanks, boys. Appreciate you doing this. Have a good one.
All right. And typically what we would do here is we would kind of halt our talking here after 3, but we're going to go ahead and interview the fourth member. He brings it home in fourth tonight, and that's Taylor Burris catching up with Ryan Vargas.
Here with Ryan Vargas coming home in fourth tonight. Ryan, I mean, very interesting race for you tonight. Tell us how your race went.
Oh, yeah. No, it was back and forth for sure. I got uprooted there a little bit early in the race, but we had to come back from that, made some passes, and got back to where I needed to do. Sorry, I'm getting used to this push to talk.
It's all good. Well, with that, did you feel like if we had longer runs, did you have anything for Fisher or for any of our top 3 tonight to have a shot at winning?
I think I at least had a top 3 car. Jake was really fast, so it was going to be hard to get him, but feels really cool to do this with the TikTok car and get it involved in sim racing. As you can tell, I keep having to struggle with the push to talk, but been a lot of fun doing this, and thank you guys for putting this on.
Of course. Now, before we let you go, two more things to let you ask about. One is, how confident do you feel about going into Martinsville this Saturday? And also, anybody you would like to say thank you to?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it definitely helps that confidence just a little bit. It's going to be different. It's going to be different in real life, but really excited to get after it at Martinsville this weekend in the TikTok Chevy. Got to get used to this push talk. But thank you to TikTok for obviously sponsoring our race car, and JD Motorsports for all their support, and all you guys and Elliot for putting this together. It's a really cool event. Glad to be a part.
All right, that is Ryan Vargas, driver of the number 6 TikTok Chevy Camaro, here tonight, coming home in 4th place. And Blake, that kind of brings us to a close here tonight.
I think it does. We'll hope that Vargas can have a great run this weekend. Hopefully, maybe get him some more chicken nuggets on the night. But I think that does kind of wrap it up for us here. Obviously, I think there's nothing more to really say. We kind of just were able to get to the end after we had a whole host of caution flags there at the end of the race. So for our producer Zach Johnson, for my broadcast partner Taylor Burris, I am Blake McCandless saying. So long tonight from the virtual Martinsville Speedway. Once again, we bid you farewell, and congratulations to the winner for tonight, Jake Fisher. And we'll see you next week when we visit a little bit different of a racetrack. Not so much different. We'll be at Phoenix next week, so make sure to tune into that right here on SGN. So until then, we will see you next time.